The paradox of smart people. Let me tell you about David. David is the managing director at a high-profile investment firm. He has an IQ of 155. He reads complex market analyses the way most people read a breakfast menu. He sees patterns that no one else sees. He can calculate risk, forecast quarterly earnings, and model financial derivatives in his head. By every measurable metric, David is brilliant. One Tuesday, David is in the most important meeting of his career. He's pitching a $700 million acquisition to the board. The room is tense. The CEO, a woman known for her surgical precision with numbers, leans forward and points to a single line item on page 48 of his report. "This projection," she says, her voice quiet, "seems optimistic. Walk me through your assumptions again." It's a simple request, a fair question. David knows the answer. He wrote the answer. He has 3 separate data models to back it up. But something happens. His heart doesn't just beat faster, it slams against his ribs. His face flushes hot. The air in the room feels thick and heavy. He hears her question not as a request for information, but as an accusation of incompetence. He hears, "You failed. You missed this. You're an imposter." He opens his mouth, but the numbers are gone. The logic, once so clear, is now a jumbled mess. He stammers, "Well, the model, it's based on a forward-looking." He becomes defensive. He sounds uncertain. He talks about market volatility, trying to deflect, but he can't find his footing. In the space of 90 seconds, David, the smartest man in the room, looks like a fool. He didn't fail because he wasn't smart enough. He failed because he wasn't in control. The pressure hit a nerve. His brain sounded an alarm, and his intelligence went completely offline. Welcome to the intelligence trap. We spend our entire lives being told that intelligence is the key to success. We take the tests, we get the degrees, we build the skills. We believe that if we are smart enough, we can think our way through any problem. We are wrong. Your intelligence, the very tool you've relied on your entire life, will not protect you when the stakes are high. In fact, it may be the very thing that makes your failure more spectacular. This book is about why that happens and what you can finally do about it. This is not a book about getting smarter. This is a book about becoming stronger. It's about the most powerful skill in human existence, the ability to not react, the ability to feel the surge of panic, anger, or anxiety, to acknowledge it, and then to choose your response based on logic and strategy, not primitive impulse. This is the single greatest differentiator between high achievers and everyone else. It's not their IQ, it's not their talent, it's their mastery over the space between a stimulus and their response. For most people, that space is non-existent. A trigger happens, and an automatic, programmed reaction fires. Your boss criticizes you, and you get defensive. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you feel rage. You feel overwhelmed by a deadline, and you procrastinate. You are being controlled by chemical reactions in your brain, and you don't even realize it. The problem for smart people is even more insidious. High IQ individuals are masters of rumination. We don't just feel an emotion, we analyze it. We build complex, logical-sounding narratives to justify our emotional reactions. We tell ourselves, "I have a right to be angry." We overthink, we second-guess, and we create intricate what-if scenarios that send us spiraling into anxiety. We try to use our powerful analytical minds to solve a problem that logic can't touch. Trying to think your way out of a panic attack is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more you analyze the fear, the more real it feels. The more you justify the anger, the hotter it burns. Your intelligence becomes a weapon you turn against yourself. This audiobook is your way out. It is a manual for taking back control of the most complex piece of machinery you will ever own, your own mind. We are not going to talk about positive thinking or just calming down. This is not a collection of simplistic platitudes. This is a deep dive into the neuroscience of pressure. We are going to deconstruct the biological process of failure and give you the tools to stop it before it starts. You will learn why your brain seems determined to sabotage you. We will explore the amygdala hijack, the primitive alarm system that shuts down your rational mind in milliseconds. You will learn the STOP method, a 4-step tactical framework used by Navy SEALs and elite athletes to regain immediate control in moments of chaos. You will learn advanced cognitive frameworks to reframe pressure not as a threat to be feared, but as an opportunity to be seized. You will learn to use your body to control your mind, not the other way around. This is not a theoretical exercise. This is a practical, step-by-step guide to building unshakable emotional resilience. The top 1% of performers, the leaders, surgeons, athletes, and artists who deliver greatness when the pressure is at its peak, are not superhuman. They are not emotionless. They have simply mastered the art of emotional control. They have learned that their feelings are not facts, they are data. This book is your invitation to join them. It's your blueprint for dismantling the intelligence trap and building a new foundation for success, one based not just on what you know, but on your ability to control how you act on what you know. This is not about changing who you are, it's about finally accessing what you are truly capable of. You are already smart. Now, it's time to become unbreakable. Chapter 1. The hidden cost of cracking. Most people have no idea what their emotional reactions are truly costing them. They see the immediate consequences, the argument that ends in slammed doors, the awkward silence after a defensive remark in a meeting, the email sent in anger, followed by that sinking feeling of immediate regret. They see these as isolated incidents, bad moments in an otherwise good life. They think, I was just stressed. I was tired. They had it coming. They believe these reactions are a normal, unavoidable part of being human. They are wrong, dead wrong. These isolated incidents are not isolated. They are symptoms of a deep, underlying pattern, and the cost of this pattern is not a few bad moments. The cost is your entire future. It is the compound interest of a life lived at the mercy of your emotions. This delusion that small emotional reactions are harmless is destroying your career, your relationships, and your relationship with yourself, all in ways you do not see. Let's pull back the curtain. Let's look at the real bill. Section 1. The financial and career cost. Let's start with your career, because it's the easiest to measure. Think about the last time you were in a high-stakes negotiation. Maybe it was for your salary, a new project, or a major deal. The other person said something that felt disrespectful, a lowball offer that felt like an insult. What did you do? Did you feel that heat rise in your chest? Did you feel the need to prove your worth? Did you get defensive? Did you over-explain? Or did you get angry and draw a hard line, trying to take control of the situation, only to have them walk away from the table? A single emotional reaction in a negotiation can cost you millions. The person who remains calm, detached, and strategic always has the upper hand. The person who is driven by their ego, their anger, or their anxiety will always leave money on the table. But the cost goes far beyond a single negotiation. It's a quiet, slow erosion of your professional trajectory. You're in a team meeting. Someone challenges your idea. You feel attacked, so you become defensive, sarcastic, or dismissive. You win the argument in the moment, but you have lost something far more valuable. You've shown your colleagues that you are not open to feedback. You've shown your boss that you are unstable under pressure. Guess who doesn't get put in charge of the next big project? Guess who gets passed over for the promotion to a leadership role? It's not the person with the best ideas. It's the person who can't handle the pressure of those ideas. Leadership roles are not given to the most intelligent people. They are given to the most stable people. They are given to the people who, when the building is on fire, calmly find the exit. Your emotional reactivity makes you a risk. It makes you unreliable. And in the corporate world, Risk is the one thing everyone is paid to avoid. Think of every opportunity you've missed because you were too anxious to speak up. Every presentation you fumbled because you were more focused on the fear of judgment than on your message. Every brilliant idea you abandoned because you felt the sting of initial criticism and decided to quit. Now, compound those losses. Over 5 years, 10 years, a lifetime. The financial cost of emotional reactivity is staggering. It is the difference between the career you have and the career you could have had. It is the massive, ever-widening gap between your potential and your actual performance. It is the promotion you never got, the business you never started, the deal you never closed, all because, in the critical moment, you let a fleeting feeling dictate your actions. Section 2. The relationship cost. The career cost is devastating, but it's impersonal. The relationship cost is, in many ways, even more heartbreaking. Your relationships are the bedrock of your life, and every single day, you are either building them up or tearing them down with your emotional responses. Think about your partner, your children, your closest friends. Think about the last argument you had. Maybe it was about something laughably minor, the dishes, being 5 minutes late, a comment that was misunderstood. And in an instant, it escalated. They said something that hit a nerve. It tapped into a deeper fear, a fear of not being respected, of not being heard, of being taken for granted. And you reacted. You didn't respond to what they said. You reacted to what you feared. You brought up past grievances. You used sarcasm. You raised your voice. You said things designed to hurt them because you were hurting. You went for control. You went for the win. And what did it cost you? Every time you lose control emotionally with someone you love, you make a withdrawal from the relationship's bank account of trust. A small withdrawal, maybe, but they add up. You create distance. You plant seeds of resentment. You teach the people who love you that you are not safe. You teach them that they need to walk on eggshells around you. And so, they stop being honest. They stop bringing up the small problems because they're terrified you'll turn them into big fights. They stop sharing their vulnerabilities because they're afraid you'll use them as ammunition. They stop seeing you as a partner and start seeing you as a problem to be managed. Your children watch you. They are learning their emotional blueprint from your every reaction. When you yell in frustration, you are teaching them that yelling is the appropriate response to frustration. When you are anxious and irritable, you are teaching them that the world is an anxious and irritable place. You are passing down your own emotional failures to the next generation, all while telling yourself you're a good parent. The cost is not the argument. The cost is the intimacy you've destroyed. It's the connection that has been replaced by caution. It's the slow, agonizing death of a relationship that dies not from a single blow, but from 1,000 tiny cuts. All because you couldn't, or wouldn't, control your initial emotional reaction. Section 3. The internal cost. This brings us to the highest cost of all, the one that makes all the other costs possible. What your emotional reactivity does to you. Every time you lose control, every time you lash out, every time you crumble under pressure, you lose respect for yourself. You know, in that quiet moment after the anger has faded or the panic has subsided, that you were capable of better. You know you could have handled the situation with grace. You know you could have been the person you want to be, the calm, strong, rational person. But you weren't. In the moment that mattered, you were weak. You were powerless against your own emotions. And that realization creates a cycle of self-doubt and shame that erodes your confidence from the inside out. This is the real intelligence trap. Your smart brain knows what you should have done. It replays the event over and over, criticizing your every move. Your intelligence, in this case, doesn't help you. It just becomes the voice of your own inner critic, reminding you of your failure. So what happens next? You become more anxious about the next high-pressure situation. You start to doubt your own abilities. You start to think, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. This internal failure rewires your brain for future failures. Every time you react emotionally, you are reinforcing the neural pathways that make that reaction more likely to happen again. You are, quite literally, practicing failure. You are training your brain to be weaker, and the science is clear on this. Every emotional outburst triggers a flood of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals don't just disappear, they stay in your system for hours, sometimes days, clouding your judgment, impairing your memory, and making you more susceptible to the next emotional trigger. That one reactive email in the morning doesn't just ruin the morning, it sabotages your entire day. It makes you short-tempered with your family that evening. It makes you sleep poorly that night. It makes you more tired and more reactive the next day. You become trapped in a cycle of reactivity. You are living in a constant low-grade state of fight or flight. And you've been doing it for so long, you think this is what normal feels like. The hidden cost is your peace. It's your health. It's the person you were meant to be. The good news is that this is not your destiny. It is not a permanent part of your personality. It is not written in your DNA. It is a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Like any skill, it can be unlearned and replaced with something better. You are not weak. You are just untrained. This is the work we are about to do. We are going to move past the cost of reactivity and into the science of control. We are going to look under the hood at the wiring of your brain and understand why this happens. Because you cannot fix a machine until you understand how it works. In the next chapter, we are going to meet the ancient, primitive, and incredibly powerful part of your brain that is determined to sabotage you. We are going to meet your amygdala. Chapter 2, The Hijacked Brain, Why Your Mind Betrays You. To win a war, you must know your enemy. And when it comes to emotional control, your enemy is not your boss, your partner, or the stock market. Your enemy is a small, almond-shaped piece of ancient, primitive hardware buried deep inside your brain. It is a relic from a world that no longer exists, a world of immediate, physical threats, a world of predators and survival. This enemy is called the amygdala. To understand how to control your emotions, you must first understand, in visceral detail, why your brain seems so determined to make you lose control. The truth is, your emotional responses are not random. They are not failures of character. They are the predictable, mechanical, and outdated operations of a biological machine designed for a different purpose. Let's meet the two key players in your head. Player 1, the prefrontal cortex, the CEO. At the very front of your brain, right behind your forehead, is the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. This is the you think of as you. It's the most modern, evolved part of the human brain. This is your rational mind. Your PFC is the CEO of your brain. It's responsible for everything that separates you from a reptile. It handles long-term planning, complex decision-making, rational analysis, and, most importantly, impulse control. It's the part of your brain that knows you shouldn't eat the entire cake, that you should save money for retirement, and that yelling at your boss is a bad idea. It is sophisticated, it is intelligent, and it is slow. Your rational PFC processes information at a deliberate pace. It needs at least 500 milliseconds, half a second, to receive sensory data, analyze it, check it against your memories and goals, and decide on a thoughtful response. Half a second. It might as well be an eternity, because it is competing with Player 2. Player 2, the amygdala, the alarm system. Deeper in your brain, in the older, more primitive limbic system, sits the amygdala. This is not a CEO. This is a panic button. It is your personal alarm system, evolved over millions of years, with one job and one job only: to scan your environment for threats and keep you alive. It doesn't care about your career goals, It doesn't care about your relationships. It doesn't care about your reputation. It has only one question: is this going to kill me? And here's the critical part. Your amygdala works at astonishing speed. It can receive sensory information and trigger a full-body fight or flight response in as little as 12 milliseconds. Let's do the math. 12 milliseconds versus 500 milliseconds. Your emotional alarm system is more than 40 times faster than your rational mind. Your emotional brain has already decided to panic, to get angry, or to run away before your rational brain even knows what is happening. By the time your CEO, the PFC, gets the memo, your body is already flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart is racing, your muscles are tense, and your logical mind has been knocked out of the driver's seat. This event has a name. It's called the amygdala hijack. This is the moment your mind betrays you. It's the moment David, our brilliant executive from the introduction, stared blankly at the CEO. His PFC knew the answer, but his amygdala perceived her question as a threat to his social standing, a predator in the boardroom. And the amygdala did its job. It pulled the fire alarm. It flooded his system with stress hormones. And in a desperate attempt to save resources for a physical fight, it did something terrifying. It began shutting down non-essential systems. And what is the first non-essential system to go offline in a perceived life or death struggle? Your rational, analytical, slow-moving prefrontal cortex. Blood flow is literally rerouted away from your rational brain and toward your primitive survival brain. You don't just feel stupid, you become less intelligent in that moment. Your working memory collapses. Your ability to access complex language disappears. Your IQ temporarily plummets. This is why you can't find the right words in an argument. This is why you forget your presentation. This is why you make disastrous decisions under pressure. Your CEO has been locked out of the building, and a terrified, hyper-aggressive security guard is now running the company. The intelligence trap. Why smart people get hijacked harder. Here is the paradox that smart people never see. They assume their high IQ, powerful PFC, makes them less susceptible to this. The opposite is true. 1. Your amygdala can't tell the difference. 6. 7. Your primitive alarm system has not received a software update in 200,000 years. It cannot tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an angry email from your boss. It cannot distinguish between the threat of physical death and the threat of social embarrassment. To your amygdala, public speaking is a life or death threat, being rejected by the tribe. A critical comment from your partner is a life or death threat, abandonment. A market crash is a life or death threat, loss of resources. Because you are intelligent, you are involved in more complex, socially charged, high-stakes situations. You are constantly triggering this ancient alarm system with modern-day stressors it was never designed to handle. 2. You try to out-logic the hijack. 7. 3. When the hijack begins, what does a smart person do? They try to think their way out. I shouldn't be feeling this. This is illogical. I just need to calm down. What are the facts? Fact 1. She asked a question. Fact 2. I know the answer. Why is my heart racing? This is stupid. Stop it. This is gasoline on the fire. You are trying to use the PFC, the very part of the brain that is being shut down, to fight a chemical flood started by the amygdala. You are not just fighting the hijack, you are now fighting yourself for having the hijack. This creates a secondary panic loop. You are now panicking about being panicked. This is the over-analysis and rumination that traps high IQ individuals. 754.3. Your amygdala learns the wrong lessons. 759. This is the most dangerous part. Your amygdala learns from experience, but it's a terrible student. 8. 6. When you have an amygdala hijack during a presentation and the presentation goes badly, your amygdala doesn't learn. I should have stayed calm. It learns. Presentations are dangerous. I was right to panic. Next time, I'll panic even sooner and harder to keep us safe. This is how phobias are born. This is how chronic anxiety develops. This is why your trigger for defensiveness gets more sensitive over time, not less. Your brain is constantly expanding its list of threats, and your powerful intellect is busy creating sophisticated stories to justify each one. You become hypersensitive to any sign of rejection. You become defensive about any feedback. Your brain is learning to sabotage you more efficiently. The modern minefield. Now, take this faulty wiring and place it in the modern world. We are not dealing with 1 or 2 threats a day. We are in a state of chronic activation. Your alarm system is being triggered hundreds of times a day by low-level stressors that keep it on high alert. The social media notification, a potential social judgment. The news headline designed to trigger outrage, a threat to your worldview. The work email that demands an immediate response, a threat to your time. The traffic jam, being trapped. Your amygdala is constantly being pinged. It's in a state of high alert, making the threshold for a full-blown hijack lower and lower. This is why, after a long, stressful day, a tiny, insignificant comment from your spouse can cause a massive explosion. Your alarm system was already at 99%. This is the war you are fighting. It is not a war of intelligence. It is a war of engineering. You are trying to operate an ancient, survival-based operating system in a modern, information-based world. So, how do you win? You don't win by fighting the amygdala. You don't win by outthinking it. That is the smart person's trap. You win by rewiring the system. You win by training your brain. You win by learning to work with your brain's design instead of against it. You create a gap between the trigger and your response. In that gap, that tiny fraction of a second, lies your power. You learn to send a new signal to your amygdala, a signal that says, "I feel the alarm, but we are not in danger. Stand down." This is not a metaphor. This is a physiological skill. You can train your rational PFC to override your primitive amygdala. You can build new neural pathways that support calm, deliberate choice instead of panicked automatic reactivity. But before we learn the techniques to do this, we must first understand the target. The target is not the stressful event itself. The target is your perception of it. You will never control your brain until you understand that pressure is not external. It is an internal story, and it's a story you can and must rewrite. Chapter 3. The pressure. Illusion. It's not external, it's internal. What is pressure? Ask most people, and they will point to something external. Pressure is the deadline. It's the board meeting. It's the stack of bills. It's the difficult conversation. It's the championship game. This is the first and most fundamental mistake. It is the root of all failure under pressure. Pressure is not external. It is internal. The situation itself is neutral. The deadline is just a date on a calendar. The meeting is just a group of people in a room. The conversation is just a series of words. These things have no inherent power. The pressure you feel is created 100% by the narrative your mind constructs about the situation. It is the story you tell yourself about the consequences of failure. If I miss this deadline, I'll get fired. 12:54. If this meeting goes badly, they'll all think I'm an idiot. 12:59. If I have this conversation, it will end in a fight and the relationship will be over. This is the what-if loop that smart people are so good at creating. We use our powerful imaginations and analytical skills to build a detailed, vivid, and terrifying vision of the future. And what happens when your brain hears that story? Your amygdala, that ancient alarm system, doesn't know the difference between a real event and a vividly imagined one. When you tell yourself a story about catastrophic failure, your amygdala believes you. It believes the catastrophe is happening right now, and it triggers the hijack. You are not reacting to the event. You are reacting to your interpretation of the event. You have, in effect, manufactured your own panic. You have created your own pressure. This is fantastic news. Why? Because if you are the one creating the pressure, you are the one who can stop it. You have the power to change the narrative. Elite performers, the top 1%, who seem to thrive under pressure, understand this instinctively. They don't have less stress. They have a different relationship with it. They have trained their brains to tell a different story. This is the most important distinction you will ever learn. The difference between a threat and a challenge. Section 1. Threat versus challenge response. Research in performance psychology is incredibly clear on this. When you face a high-stakes situation, your brain will interpret it in one of two ways. The threat response, the 99%, 15-1. This is what happens to most people. Your brain focuses on what you have to lose. You see the situation as a danger, a risk, a potential for failure and humiliation. Your internal narrative is, don't mess this up. What if I fail? Everyone is watching me. This narrative triggers a survival-based amygdala hijack. Your brain releases a massive, debilitating flood of cortisol. This is the bad stress. It leads to vasoconstriction. Your blood vessels tighten. This is why your hands get cold and clammy. Blood is being pulled away from your extremities and your rational brain. Cognitive shutdown. Your PFC goes offline. You get tunnel vision. Your thinking becomes rigid, defensive, and simplistic. Performance collapse. You freeze. You fumble. You fail. You are in survival mode, not performance mode. This is David in the boardroom. This is you in an argument. You are trying to survive the moment, not excel in it. Now, let's look at the alternative. The challenge response, the 1%, 16-15. The top 1% face the exact same situation, but they tell a different story. Their brain focuses on what they have to gain. They see the situation as an opportunity, a test, a game to be won. Their internal narrative is, this is what I've trained for. This is my chance to show what I can do. This is fun. This narrative triggers a performance-based adrenal response. It's good stress. Your brain still releases adrenaline, but without the paralyzing flood of cortisol. This physiological state is completely different. It leads to vasodilation. Your blood vessels expand. Blood flows to your brain and extremities. Cognitive enhancement. Your PFC stays online. You are flooded with energy, but you remain clear-headed. You see more possibilities. You are more creative. Performance boost. You enter a state of flow or clutch performance. You are focused, energized, and operating at your absolute peak. This is Michael Jordan in the final second of the game. This is the surgeon in a complex, unexpected surgery. They are not avoiding pressure, they are channeling it. The situation is identical. The interpretation is what determines the outcome. Pressure is not your enemy. Your threat response is. Section 2. How smart people build the threat response. Intelligent, conscientious people are often the most vulnerable to the threat response. Why? Because you are so good at seeing the consequences. Your analytical mind meticulously maps out every single thing that could go wrong. You're not just worried about failing, you're worried about 10 specific, detailed ways you could fail. Furthermore, your identity is often deeply tied to being smart. Your self-worth is based on being right and being competent. Therefore, any situation that challenges your competence, like a tough question from a CEO, is perceived not as a challenge, but as a direct threat to your identity. You are not just at risk of failing the task. You are at risk of being exposed as a fraud. This is the core of imposter syndrome. This is the root of perfectionism. It is the deep, dark fear of the high achiever, that you are not as smart as everyone thinks you are, and this is the moment they will all find out. With stakes that high, of course your amygdala fires. Of course you have a threat response. You have told your brain that your very self is on the line. Section 3. Rewriting the story. So, how do you make the shift? How do you train your brain to default to a challenge response? It's not about lying to yourself. You cannot simply say, "I'm not scared," when you are. Your amygdala will know you're lying. It's about reframing the situation. It's about consciously choosing a more useful narrative before the hijack takes full control. This is not positive thinking. This is strategic reframing. You learn to catch the first sign of the threat response, the heart slam, the hot face, the thought, "Oh no." And in that moment, you introduce a new story. Instead of, "Don't mess this up." 28, you say, "This is an opportunity to practice my skills." Instead of, "Everyone is judging me." 2017, you say, "My job is not to manage their feelings. My job is to deliver the information clearly. I will focus on that." Instead of, "I'm going to fail." 2030, you say, "This is difficult, but I am capable of handling difficult things. This is the exact kind of work I've been training for." Notice the difference. You are not denying the difficulty. You are affirming your capability. You are shifting your focus from the uncontrollable outcome, what they will think, whether you will win, to the controllable process, how you will deliver, what you will focus on. This intentional shift is a skill. It is a muscle, and it must be trained. When you practice this reframing, you are doing something profound at a neurological level. You are strengthening the connection between your PFC, your CEO, and your amygdala, your alarm. You are teaching your rational mind how to talk your emotional mind down from the ledge. This is the foundation of emotional mastery, the understanding that your brain is a machine that will run an automatic, self-destructive program unless you give it a better one. The problem, of course, is that the hijack is fast, 12 milliseconds. How can you possibly reframe the story in 12 milliseconds? You can't. By the time you feel the emotion, the hijack has already begun. Your logical mind is too slow to stop the initial chemical flood. This is where most people give up. They think, "If I can't stop it from starting, what's the point?" This is where they miss the most important step. You don't have to stop the reaction. You have to stop the escalation. You have to stop the reaction from becoming a catastrophic failure. You can't stop the first wave of emotion, but you can stop the second, third, and fourth. You need a system. A simple, automatic, 4-step drill that you can execute after the hijack has started. You need a method that works even when your rational mind is offline and you can barely think straight. This method is your first line of defense. It's your emergency brake. It's the tool you will use to create the space you need for your rational brain to come back online. This tool is called the STOP method. And in the next chapter, we are going to learn exactly how to use it. Chapter 4, the STOP method, your first line of defense. In the last 2 chapters, we established a sobering truth. Your emotional brain is 40 times faster than your rational brain. By the time you feel the anger, the panic, or the fear, the hijack is already in progress. Your logical, brilliant prefrontal cortex, your CEO, is too slow to stop the initial alarm. Trying to think your way out of the hijack is like trying to start a complex analysis after the fire alarm has gone off, the sprinklers are soaking you, and you're running for the exit. It's impossible. This is the moment most people give up. They assume that if they can't prevent the emotion, they can't control it. They surrender to the reaction. This is where they are wrong. You don't need to prevent the first wave. You only need to stop it from becoming a tsunami. To do this, you don't need more intelligence. You don't need more willpower. You need a system. You need a tactical, 4-step drill that is simple enough to execute even when your rational mind is offline and your body is screaming danger. This is not a complex psychological theory. This is an emergency brake. It's a protocol used by everyone from Navy SEALs to emergency room surgeons to maintain control in the middle of chaos. It's called the STOP OP, method. 4 letters, 4 sequential actions you will burn into your memory. This method is your first line of defense. It's what you will do in that tiny gap between the trigger and the catastrophic, life-altering mistake. Let's break it down. S equals stop. The first step is the most important and the most literal. The instant you recognize the hijack, you must physically stop what you are doing. I am not speaking metaphorically. I mean, you must send a halt command to your body. If you are typing an angry email, take your hands off the keyboard. If you are in an argument, close your mouth, even if it's mid-sentence. If you are pacing in frustration, stand still. If you are about to hit send on a reactive text, put the phone down. This physical act is critical. It is the first assertion of conscious control over the unconscious hijack. Your amygdala is screaming, go, 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 fight, flee. By physically stopping, you are sending the first signal back to your primitive brain that says, no, we are not doing that. This physical pause shatters the autopilot. It breaks the momentum of the reaction. But to do this, you have to know when to do it. You have to get good at recognizing the very first signs of the hijack. This is your new homework. You must become a master of your own internal cues. Your body always gives you early warning signs before the emotion completely takes over. For you, maybe it's a hot flush on your neck and face. Maybe it's a tightening in your chest. Maybe your breathing becomes shallow, moving from your belly to your upper chest. Maybe it's a cold knot forming in your stomach. Maybe your jaw clenches or your shoulders tense up toward your ears. These are not just feelings. These are physiological data. They are your body's check engine light. For most of your life, you have been driving with this light flashing, ignoring it, or worse, pushing the gas pedal harder. No more. From now on, that physical sensation is your trigger, not the external event, the internal sensation. The moment you feel that heat in your face, the moment you feel that knot in your stomach, your new, automatic, trained response is not to speak, it is not to act. It is to stop. Just freeze for 1 full second. That's all it takes. That 1 second of stop is the gap you need to execute step 2. Don't equals take a breath. This is the most misunderstood piece of advice in the world. Just take a deep breath is meaningless. It's what you tell someone when you have no real advice to give. This is not that. This is a mechanical intervention. You are not taking a breath to feel good. You are using your breath as a lever to manually reset your nervous system. Remember the 2 competing systems. The sympathetic nervous system is your gas pedal. It's the fight or flight system. During a hijack, this system is in full control. The parasympathetic nervous system is your brake. It's the rest and digest system. It is the system of calm, reason, and recovery. You cannot be in both states at once. The problem is, the hijack automatically slams the gas pedal. You need a way to manually slam the brake. Here's how you do it. The brake pedal for your entire nervous system is a massive nerve called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from your brain all the way down to your gut. When you activate it, it sends a powerful, all-clear signal to your brain. It tells your amygdala, the threat is gone, stand down. And the single fastest, most effective way to activate your vagus nerve is with a specific kind of breath, a long, slow exhale. It is physiologically impossible to have a long, slow exhale while you are being chased by a tiger. Your body knows this. By faking a long, slow exhale, you are tricking your brain into believing the danger has passed. So, this is what you will do. After you stop, you will execute a tactical breathing drill. It's often called box breathing, used by the military to maintain calm under fire. The pattern is simple. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 4. Breathe out slowly through your mouth, as if through a straw. That's it. Let's analyze why it works. The inhale and hold create focus, but the key is the extended exhale. Your exhale must be longer than your inhale. This is the part that activates the vagus nerve and engages the parasympathetic brake. You must do this 3 times. By the time you have finished the 3rd breath, something magical has happened. Your heart rate will have physically slowed down. The flood of cortisol will have begun to recede. Your logical prefrontal cortex, which was starved of blood and oxygen, is just starting to come back online. You have not solved the problem, but you have stopped the panic. You have bought yourself the cognitive space to execute step 3. O equals observe. Now that you're CEO, your rational mind is back at the desk. You need to give it a job, and the job you will give it is that of a scientist. You are going to observe what is happening, both inside and out, with a sense of objective detachment. This is the moment of disidentification. You are no longer the actor in this emotional drama. You are the audience. You are a curious, impartial observer. You must observe 2 things. 8:48. First, you observe your internal state. You will get specific. You will label your emotions and thoughts. Neuroscience shows that the simple act of naming an emotion moves brain activity from the reactive amygdala to the rational PFC. It tames the feeling. Instead of, I am angry, your observation is, how fascinating. I am noticing a strong sensation of heat in my chest and a thought that says, this is unfair. Instead of, I'm panicking, I'm going to fail, your observation is, I am noticing a rapid heart rate and a mental movie of me failing. It is just a thought. This is not a word game. This is a profound shift in perspective. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the observer of these things. This simple shift creates distance. It creates control. And you must do this with curiosity, not judgment. Do not say, I'm so stupid for feeling this. That is just a second hijack. You say, this is an interesting biological reaction. Okay, what else? Second, and most critically, you observe the external situation. You must, as a scientist, separate fact from interpretation. This is where 99% of emotional reactions are born, not from facts, but from the stories we tell ourselves about the fact. Your amygdala hijack was based on an assumption, an interpretation, a bad story. Now, you will find the truth. Let's practice. Interpretation. My boss is furious with me. I'm getting fired. Fact. My boss's email said, we need to talk at 4 p.m. Interpretation. My partner doesn't love me anymore. This relationship is over. Fact. My partner seemed distant at dinner and used a flat tone of voice. Interpretation. I am a complete failure, and everyone in this meeting thinks I'm an idiot. Fact. A colleague challenged my idea, and I didn't have the answer immediately. When you force yourself to state the data, the raw, observable, objective facts, you will often find that your catastrophic story is based on almost no evidence at all. The hijack was a false alarm. By separating fact from fiction, you drain the situation of its emotional power. The threat dissolves because it was never real. It was an illusion. Now you are calm. You are clear. You are anchored in reality. You are finally ready to act. P equals proceed. This is the final step. You have stopped the reaction. You have reset your physiology. You have observed the reality. Now, you will make a conscious choice to proceed. This is not a reaction. It is a response. A reaction is impulsive, emotional, and focused on the past, defending, blaming. A response is deliberate, logical, and focused on the future, solving, connecting. Before you act, you will ask yourself one question. This is your new compass. What response is most aligned with my long-term goals and the person I want to be? Not, what will make me feel better right now? That's yelling. Not, what will win the argument? That's ego. Not, what will make them feel bad? That's revenge. What response will make me proud tomorrow? When you ask this question, the right answer is often obvious. And here is the most powerful secret of the proceed step. Often, the most powerful choice is to not respond at all, at least, not immediately. Let's look at our scenarios. The angry email. The proceed choice is not to write a professional response. The choice is to close the draft and say, I will look at this tomorrow at 9 a.m. The argument with your partner. You observed your partner is using a flat tone. Your old reaction was, what's wrong with you? Why are you angry at me? The proceed response, based on your goal of connection, is to ask, I noticed you seem quiet. Is everything okay? It seems like you have a lot on your mind. The colleague who challenged you, your old reaction was to get defensive and list your credentials. The proceed response, based on your goal of being a respected leader, is to say, that's a valid point. I hadn't considered that angle. Let me look into that and get back to you. Sometimes, the best proceed choice is to buy time. I need a moment to think about that. Let me consider what you're saying and I'll get back to you. This is an important conversation and I want to give it my full attention. I'm feeling too emotional to do that right now. Can we pause and resume this in 30 minutes? This is not weakness. This is unbelievable strength. This is the ultimate power move. You are refusing to be drawn into an emotional, reactive fight. You are setting the terms. You are choosing to engage only from a place of calm, rational strength. The drill. This is the stop method. Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. It is a practice. It is a drill. You will not be perfect at it overnight. At first, you will only remember to use it after you've already exploded. You will be cleaning up the mess and you'll think, I should have used the stop method. This is a win. This is awareness. Then, you will start to catch yourself during the hijack. You'll be halfway through a tirade and your inner voice will scream, stop. You will stop mid-sentence. It will feel awkward. This is a huge win. This is real-time control. And finally, you will learn to catch it at the first warning sign. You will feel the heat in your face, and before a single word comes out of your mouth, you will stop. You will take that breath. You will observe, and you will proceed with wisdom. This is the tool you will use to create the gap. This is the emergency brake that saves you from the crash. This method is your defense. It's how you stop yourself from failing. But this is only half the battle. Now that you know how to defend against a hijack, it's time to go on the offense. It's time to learn the advanced frameworks that allow you to change the story before the trigger even happens. It's time to learn how to rewrite the very narratives that create pressure in the first place. Chapter 5. Advanced Framework, Cognitive Reframing. The STOP method is your first line of defense. It is your emergency brake. It is the tactical, in-the-moment drill you use to stop an amygdala hijack after it has already begun. It is, without question, one of the most powerful tools you will ever learn. But it is a defensive tool. It is damage control. It is what you use when the fire alarm is already blaring. What if you could stop the fire from starting in the first place? What if you could rewire your brain so that the triggers that used to send you into a panic no longer even register as a threat? This is the difference between defense and offense. STOP is how you manage failure. Cognitive reframing is how you prevent it. This is the advanced framework that separates the 1% of performers from everyone else. It is not just managing your emotions, it is changing the very interpretations that create them. In Chapter 3, we establish the core principle. The situation is not the problem. Your interpretation of the situation is the problem. Pressure is an illusion, a story you tell yourself about the consequences of failure. This is where smart people get trapped. Your high IQ, analytical brain is a master storyteller. It is brilliant at taking one ambiguous piece of data, a flat tone of voice, a critical comment, and instantly building a detailed, logical-sounding, and catastrophic, case for why you should panic. Your brain doesn't just think, maybe that's bad. It thinks, that colleague just sighed. That means they have no respect for my analysis, which means they're going to tell the director, which means I've lost credibility, which means I won't get the promotion, which means my career is over. It happens in seconds. Your brain builds a prison of logic and then hands the keys to the amygdala. Cognitive reframing is how you pick the lock. It is the conscious, intentional practice of seizing control of the narrative. It is the skill of recognizing that your first interpretation is just one story, and you have the power to choose a different one, a more useful one. This is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is lying to yourself. It's standing in a burning building and saying, everything is fine. Cognitive reframing is strategic. It's looking at the fire and saying, my interpretation is, this is a catastrophe. What is a more useful interpretation? This is a problem that requires a calm, systematic exit. Let's learn the practical techniques. Technique 1. The what else? Method generating. Plausible alternatives. Your brain's threat response is triggered by certainty. It becomes 100% certain that its negative interpretation is the only truth. The key to diffusing the hijack is not to find the real truth, but to shatter the certainty. You do this by introducing doubt. The method is simple. When you catch yourself in a negative interpretation, you must force your brain to generate at least 3 other plausible interpretations for the exact same set of facts. Let's use the classic example. You are giving a presentation to 10 people. In the front row, a senior colleague is looking down at their phone. Your brain's automatic story. The threat. They're bored. My presentation is terrible. I'm failing. They think I'm an idiot. This is a disaster. 431. This story triggers a full amygdala hijack. Your heart races, your mouth goes dry, you lose your place. Now, we intervene. We use the what else method. What are 3 other plausible reasons a person might look at their phone during your presentation? Alternative 1. The positive reframe. They are so engaged with my idea that they are taking notes. Or maybe they're looking up a related fact. Or maybe they're emailing another department right now to say, we need to act on this. Alternative 2. The neutral. External reframe. They are an emergency room doctor and they're on call. Or maybe they have a sick child at home and they're waiting for a text from their spouse. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. Alternative 3. The humble reframe. Maybe this specific slide isn't relevant to their department and they're just clearing a quick email so they can give me their full attention when I get to the part that is relevant. That's actually efficient. What happens in your brain? You haven't proven that your first story was wrong. You don't know which of the 4 stories is true, but that doesn't matter. You have just proven that your first catastrophic story is not 100% certainly true. You have introduced doubt. The amygdala cannot maintain a full-blown hijack in the presence of doubt. It's like pouring water on a fire. The fight or flight system eases off, because the threat is no longer a certainty. It's just a possibility among many. Your rational brain comes back online. You take a breath, and you continue your presentation with composure. You must practice this all the time. When someone sends you a one-word email, fine. Threat. They are mad at me. What else? They are busy. They are on their phone. They are a person of few words. This practice, over time, rewires your brain to stop jumping to the worst possible conclusion. You become a person who defaults to curiosity instead of catastrophe. Technique 2. The timeline reframe, shifting perspective. The second way your brain creates pressure is by making a problem feel permanent and all-encompassing. In the middle of a hijack, your brain believes that the terrible feeling you have right now will last forever. It believes this single event will define the rest of your life. The The timeline reframe is a powerful technique for shrinking the magnitude of the problem. It provides instant perspective. You do this by asking yourself a simple set of questions. When you are facing a catastrophe, a bad review, a failed project, a huge argument, you will stop and you will ask, will this matter in 10 years? 8. The answer is almost always no. Will this matter in 10 months? 8. Probably not. Will this matter in 10 weeks? 8. 15. Maybe, but probably not much. Will this matter in 10 days? 8. 22. This simple exercise instantly reframes the event. It takes it from a life-ending catastrophe and turns it into a temporary, unpleasant data point. It doesn't deny that it feels bad now. It just reminds your brain that now is not forever. You can even flip this to deal with anxiety about a future event. Let's say you are terrified of a presentation you have to give next week. Your brain is living in that future moment of panic. Ask yourself, in 10 days, when this presentation is over, how will I feel? The answer is relieved, accomplished, fine. By asking this, you are mentally time traveling to the other side of the event. You are teaching your brain to see the end of the stress, which signals to the amygdala that the event is survivable. There is an even more powerful version of this. You can connect with your future self. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. This version of you is wiser, stronger, and more experienced. This version of you has already navigated this exact problem and many others that were far worse. Now, ask that future self for advice. What would the 5 years from now version of me tell me to do right now? That future self would likely say, I know this feels huge, but it's not. It's a stepping stone. Don't let your ego get in the way. Focus on the lesson, not the pain. Be calm, be professional, and handle your business. You will be fine. This technique allows you to borrow the perspective, calm, and confidence of the person you are working to become. Technique 3. The focus reframe, process versus outcome. This is perhaps the most critical reframe for high-stakes performance. As we discussed in Chapter 3, pressure is born from your interpretation of the consequences. Almost all anxiety is outcome-focused. The threat response is obsessed with the outcome, which you cannot control. What if I lose the deal? What if they say no? What if I get a bad grade? What will they think of me? This focus on an uncontrollable future guarantees an amygdala hijack. The 1% performer, the person in a challenge response, is process-focused. They execute a ruthless reframe, shifting 100% of their mental energy away from the outcome and onto the immediate, controllable process. A surgeon in a 12-hour operation is not thinking, what if this patient dies? That thought is a recipe for a shaky hand. The surgeon is thinking, my next step is to place this suture. My focus is on this 1 millimeter of tissue. My breathing is steady. A Super Bowl quarterback in the final 2 minutes is not thinking, what if I throw an interception and lose the game? He is thinking, my job is to read the defense. My job is to find the open receiver. My job is to set my feet and throw a good spiral. This is the ultimate mental shift. You cannot control the outcome. You can only control your actions in this present second. So, you must reframe your goal. Your goal is not to give a great presentation. That's an outcome, and it's dependent on the audience's reaction. Your new goal is to execute my first 3 slides clearly and calmly. That is a process you can control. Your goal is not to win this argument. That's an outcome, dependent on the other person. Your new goal is to listen without interrupting and to state my position calmly, one time. That is a process you can control. When you feel the anxiety rising, that is your cue. Your brain is focusing on the outcome. You must immediately and forcibly reframe your focus onto the process. Ask yourself, what is the one single thing I need to do right now? My job is to breathe, My job is to listen. My job is to read the next email. My job is to type the next sentence. This reframe robs anxiety of its fuel. Anxiety lives in the future, in the what-ifs. By pulling your focus back to the immediate present, to the process, anxiety starves. You have left the imaginary, terrifying future and returned to the real, manageable present. The new operating system. These three techniques, the what else method, the timeline reframe, and the focus reframe, are not magic tricks. They are practice. They are reps. They are the mental equivalent of lifting weights. Every time you catch a negative thought and choose to reframe it, you are physically strengthening the neural pathways between your rational PFC and your emotional amygdala. You are literally rewiring your brain. At first, this will feel slow and clumsy. You'll be arguing with your own thoughts, but over time, the new, useful interpretations become faster. They become your new default. The STOP method is the emergency brake you use when your old bad programming takes over. Cognitive reframing is the new programming. This is the work you do daily, in low-stakes moments, to build the brain of a 1% performer. This is how you build a mind that defaults to calm, to curiosity, and to a challenge response. But what if the pressure is too high? What if your mind is racing so fast that you can't even think about reframing? What if the hijack is so powerful that your cognitive tools simply aren't enough? In that case, you must stop trying to control your mind with your mind. You must control your mind with your body. In the next chapter, we move from cognitive tools to physiological ones. We are going to learn how to use your body's own wiring to force your brain into a state of calm. Chapter 6. Advanced Framework. Somatic Regulation. Let's be honest. The tools we've discussed so far, the STOP method and cognitive reframing, are incredibly powerful, but they both rely on one critical assumption, that you have some access to your rational mind. They assume that, even in the storm, there is a small part of you, the observer, that can choose to STOP or choose to reframe. But what happens when the hijack is total? What happens when the fire alarm is so loud, the smoke so thick, that you can't think at all? What happens when the anxiety is so overwhelming, or the rage so blinding, that cognitive tools are useless? This is the moment of panic. This is the red zone hijack. In this moment, smart people fail the hardest. They keep trying to use their mind to control their mind, which is now offline. It's like typing on a keyboard that has been unplugged, getting more and more frustrated that nothing is appearing on the screen. Here is the solution. You stop trying to control your mind with your mind. You must control your mind with your body. This is not a metaphor. This is somatic regulation. Soma is the Greek word for body. It is the practice of using direct physical interventions to change your psychological state. Remember the vagus nerve we discussed? That physical brake on your nervous system. Remember the amygdala, that physical alarm. These are not abstract concepts. They are physical hardware. The mind-body connection is not a feeling. It is a circuit. And in a moment of crisis, the fastest way to control that circuit is not through the software, your thoughts, but through the hardware, your body. You cannot tell your amygdala to calm down, but you can force it to calm down by sending it powerful, undeniable, all-clear signals from your body. We are about to learn 3 of the most powerful somatic interventions ever discovered. These are not coping skills. They are physiological, hard resets. Technique 1. Cold exposure, the system shock reset. This is the most aggressive and fastest acting tool in your arsenal. It is the pattern interrupt for a mind stuck in a catastrophic loop. When you are in a rumination spiral, when your smart brain is playing the same negative thought over and over, faster and faster, building its case for panic or rage, you must do something so jarring that the loop breaks. This is where you use acute cold exposure. I am not necessarily talking about a full ice bath, though that works. I am talking about an immediate, accessible intervention. Go to a sink, turn on the cold water, and splash it vigorously on your face. Or, even better, fill a bowl with water and ice cubes and submerge your face for 15 seconds. Or, grab a handful of ice cubes and hold them tightly in your hands. What does this do? It triggers a powerful, ancient reflex called the mammalian dive reflex. The second cold water hits your face, specifically your nostrils and cheeks. Your brain believes you have been submerged in cold water. In an instant, its priorities change. The angry email you were ruminating about? Irrelevant. The argument you were having? Irrelevant. Your brain's only priority is now physiological survival. It immediately slams the parasympathetic calm down brake. Your heart rate slows instantly to conserve oxygen. Blood is shunted away from your extremities and to your brain and core. It is a hard reset for your nervous system. You have forced a shift from fight or flight to rest and conserve. You cannot be in a state of high anxiety panic and a mammalian dive reflex at the same time. The body's wiring forbids it. The cold shock simply overwrites the emotional hijack. When you lift your face from the water, the hijack will be broken. The obsessive thought loop will be gone. You will be breathing deeply. You will be calm. You will be present. This is not just an interruption, it's also training. By voluntarily exposing yourself to a physical stressor, the cold, and practicing your calm, box breathing during the exposure, you are doing something profound. You are teaching your nervous system how to tolerate intense discomfort. You are inoculating yourself against stress. This is your emergency reset button. When your mind is out of control, use your body. Shock the system. Technique 2. Progressive muscle relaxation. The system discharge. Let's talk about the hijack from a different angle. When your amygdala fires, it floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol for one reason: to prepare your muscles for a physical fight or a physical flight. The problem? You are in a boardroom. You are in your car. You are at your kitchen table. You cannot fight and you cannot flee. So, this massive dose of go energy has nowhere to go. It stays trapped in your system. This is why you feel that vibrating, restless energy. It's why your jaw is clenched, your shoulders are by your ears, and your fists are balled up. Your body is primed for action that never comes. This trapped energy creates a feedback loop. Your tense muscles send a signal back to your brain. We are still tense. The threat must still be here. And the amygdala releases more cortisol. You must break this loop. You must give that energy a discharge. This is progressive muscle relaxation, PMR. It is a systematic way to burn off the trapped energy and force your body into a state of release. The principle is simple. You cannot create relaxation from tension, but you can create relaxation from extreme tension. You must first increase the tension to its maximum in order to experience the release. You can do this anywhere, even sitting at your desk. Here is the drill. Start with your hands and arms. Clench your fists as hard as you possibly can. Squeeze your forearms, your biceps. Hold this tension for a count of 5. Feel the heat. Feel the shaking. On the count of 5, release all at once. Let your hands go completely limp. Notice the feeling. Notice the blood flowing back. Notice the warmth. This feeling of release is the parasympathetic nervous system taking over. You have just commanded a relaxation response. You will do this systematically through your body. Shoulders. Pull your shoulders up to your ears. Squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Let them drop. Face. Squeeze every muscle in your face. Clench your jaw. Squint your eyes. Hold. Release. Core. Tighten your abdomen as if you're about to be punched. Hold. Release. Legs and feet. Curl your toes. Clench your calves, your thighs. Hold. Release. This process does 2 things. First, it discharges the energy. You are physically using the adrenaline. You are burning off the cortisol in a controlled, non-destructive way. Second, it brings your mind out of the catastrophic future and into your physical body. It stops the rumination. You cannot obsess about what if when you are 100% focused on clenching your left fist. It is a powerful mindfulness tool. Most people live in a chronic state of low-grade tension. They don't even know what relaxed feels like. PMR reteaches your body the difference. It is a manual override for a body stuck in tense. Technique 3. Intense movement. The system flush. Sometimes, the energy of a hijack is too great. Cold exposure is too inconvenient. PMR is too subtle. 941. You feel like you are literally going to explode. Your amygdala has just injected you with the highest grade performance-enhancing drug on the planet, adrenaline, and it is screaming one word: move. So, you must obey it. But you must obey it strategically. This is what most people get wrong. They move by punching a wall. They slam a door. They throw their phone. This is a discharge of energy, yes, but it is a destructive one. It tragically reinforces the neural pathway that links anger with aggression. You are training yourself to be violent. The strategic 1% performer does not do this. They flush the system with clean, non-destructive movement. Your brain said, fight or flight. Fine, give it a simulated fight or flight. You get a raging email. You feel the hijack. You S-T-O-P. You stand up from your desk. You walk to a private space, an office, a stairwell, a bathroom, and you move. Do 20 push-ups as fast as you can. Do 30 bodyweight squats. Do 60 seconds of high knees, sprinting in place. Or, if you can get outside, sprint 100 yards as fast as you humanly can. 11, 8. What have you just done? You have completed the stress cycle. Your amygdala said, danger, we must run for our lives. And you ran, your amygdala said, danger, we must fight for our lives. And you exerted maximal physical force, push-ups. The loop is now closed. The amygdala gets the mission accomplished signal. The adrenaline has been metabolized. It has been used for its intended purpose. The threat is over. The alarm stops ringing. This is the fastest way to return to baseline after a major hijack. You are not working out. You are flushing your system of toxic stress chemicals. You are metabolizing the madness. A 60-second, intense flush can save you from 6 hours of anxious rumination. It is the most practical, direct way to honor your biology without becoming a slave to it. The full somatic toolkit. These are your hardware resets. Cold exposure is your system shock, your pattern interrupt for a looping, obsessive mind. PMR is your system discharge, your tool for releasing trapped, vibrating tension from your muscles. Intense movement is your system flush, your tool for metabolizing a massive flood of hijack energy. You now have the complete toolkit for handling acute hijack moments. You have the S-T-O-P method, your emergency brake. You have cognitive reframing, your new operating software. And you have somatic regulation, your hardware reset buttons. You are now more prepared than 99% of the population to handle pressure. But all of these tools are reactive. They are what you do when the pressure hits. The final stage of mastery is not about handling pressure. It's about building a mind that is so strong, so stable, and so resilient that pressure barely affects it. It's time to stop just managing emotional crises. It's time to build an anti-fragile mind. In the next chapter, we move from acute, in-the-moment tactics to the long-term, daily habits that will build permanent emotional resilience. We are going to build the foundation. Chapter 7, Building Long-Term Resilience. Let's review where we are. You now possess a tactical toolkit for high-pressure moments. When a hijack begins, You know how to hit the emergency brake, STOP. You know how to use your brilliant mind to rewrite the narrative, cognitive reframing. And you know how to use your body to reset your brain, somatic regulation. This is a remarkable advantage. But it is not the end goal. Relying on these tools every day is exhausting. It's like being a firefighter who has to sprint into a burning building 5 times a day. You might be the best firefighter in the world, but eventually you will burn out. The ultimate goal is not to become brilliant at fighting emotional fires. The ultimate goal is to build a life and a mind that is fire resistant. This is the shift from reactive emotional control to proactive emotional resilience. Most people misunderstand resilience. They think it means being strong, the ability to take a hit and not break. That is fragility. A coffee cup is strong until it's dropped. Then there is resilience. This is the ability to take a hit and bounce back to your original shape. A rubber ball is resilient, but there is a level beyond that. It is anti-fragility. The anti-fragile mind does not just survive stress, it feeds on it. It takes a hit, absorbs the impact, and becomes stronger because of it. This is what we are building now. We are building the deep, unshakable, long-term strength that makes you need the emergency tools less and less. How? By optimizing the very foundation of your mental, emotional, and physical state. This is not the sexy part. This is the unglamorous, daily, foundational work that elite performers obsess over and that 99% of people ignore. Most people wait until they are in a crisis to try and build strength. They wait until they are drowning to learn how to swim. This is a fatal mistake. True emotional resilience is built during the calm periods. It's the daily maintenance of your baseline. When your baseline is strong, you can handle immense pressure before you even get close to a hijack. When your baseline is weak, the smallest inconvenience, a traffic jam, a misplaced set of keys, can send you over the edge. This baseline optimization rests on 3 pillars. Not 1, not 2, all 3. You cannot trade one for the others. They are sleep, nutrition, and strategic stress. Pillar 1. Sleep. This is the single most important, non-negotiable requirement for emotional control. I will be blunt. If you are not sleeping, you cannot control your emotions. Period. You can have all the cognitive tools in the world, but they will be useless. Here is the neuroscience. Sleep is not a passive activity. It is the brain's active, nightly repair cycle. It is when your brain flushes out toxic byproducts, consolidates memories, and, most importantly, resets your emotional circuitry. Research from UC Berkeley is terrifyingly clear on this. When you are sleep deprived, less than 7 hours, your amygdala, your emotional alarm system, becomes 40% to 60% more reactive. Let me say that again. Without sleep, your panic button is 40% more sensitive. The things that would normally be minor annoyances are now perceived as major red alert threats. Your trigger is 40% lighter. At the exact same time, sleep deprivation cripples your prefrontal cortex, your CEO, the rational, logical part of your brain that you need to manage the hijack. So, let's look at this equation. Sleep deprivation equals A, 40%, more hyperactive amygdala, plus A, crippled, sluggish prefrontal cortex. This is a mathematical formula for emotional failure. It is a hijack waiting to happen. You are sending your CEO into the boardroom's most important meeting, drunk and exhausted, while giving your amygdala 3 cups of espresso. This is why you are so irritable, so anxious, so irrational after a bad night's sleep. It's not a failure of your character, it's a failure of your biology. The top 1% of performers, athletes, executives, surgeons do not grind at the expense of sleep. They treat sleep as the most critical performance-enhancing drug they have. This is no longer a suggestion. This is a requirement for the life you want to build. 7 to 9 hours, every night. This is not a luxury, it's your medicine. Consistency. Go to bed and wake up at the same time, even on weekends. Your brain craves rhythm. Total darkness. Your amygdala interprets light as daytime, as danger. A dark room signals safety. This means no TV, no phone light, no street lights. Get blackout curtains. Cool. Your body must drop its core temperature to initiate deep sleep. A cool room is non-negotiable. No screens. The blue light from your phone or laptop is a direct signal to your brain to stop producing melatonin, the sleep hormone. No screens for at least 1 hour before bed. Read a physical book. You cannot be an elite performer and a poor sleeper. You must choose. Pillar 2. Nutrition. The fuel for your brain. If sleep is your foundation, nutrition is the fuel you put in the engine. And most people are trying to run a Formula One race car on cheap, dirty sugar water. This is not about body weight. This is about brain stability. Your brain is a 3-pound organ that consumes a staggering 20% of your body's total energy. Its primary fuel is glucose, sugar, and for your prefrontal cortex, your rational CEO, to function correctly, it needs a stable, steady supply of that fuel. What do most smart, busy people do? They skip breakfast, they drink a coffee, pure stimulant. For lunch, they have a high-carb, processed meal, a sandwich, pasta, pizza. This causes a massive blood sugar spike. For 30 minutes, you feel great. Then comes the crash. A blood sugar crash is a physiological state of emergency. Your brain, starved of its only fuel source, signals to your amygdala, "We are dying, we are starving." Initiate panic. Your body releases a flood of, you guessed it, cortisol and adrenaline. Let's analyze what a blood sugar crash feels like. Irritability, anxiety, a feeling of impending doom, inability to focus, brain fog, shakiness, rage. Does this sound familiar? It is a perfect imitation of a severe anxiety or anger hijack. You are not angry at your colleague. You are not anxious about the deadline. Your blood sugar is unstable. You are not having a psychological crisis. You are having a metabolic one. You cannot control your emotions if you are on a constant blood sugar roller coaster. You are chemically manufacturing your own hijacks all day long. The solution is simple, and it is non-negotiable. Protein with every meal. Protein is the brake on sugar. It slows the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream, giving you a long, steady curve of energy instead of a spike and crash. Every meal you eat should be anchored with protein. Avoid processed sugar. That sugary drink, that pastry, that candy bar. You are drinking anxiety. You are eating irritability. Hydrate. Your brain is 75% water. Even mild dehydration impairs cognitive function and makes your amygdala more sensitive. You cannot think clearly on bad fuel. Fix your fuel, and you will prevent 50% of your emotional problems. Pillar 3. Strategic stress inoculation. This is the final pillar, and the one that builds true anti-fragility. You cannot get physically strong by living in a bubble. A muscle that is never challenged will atrophy. To build muscle, you must subject it to progressive overload, to controlled, acute stress that breaks it down so it can rebuild stronger. Your emotional control system works in exactly the same way. Your entire life, you have been trying to avoid stress. You have been trying to create a life of pure comfort, and in doing so, you have made yourself emotionally weak. You have allowed your hijack muscle to atrophy. We must reverse this. We must stop avoiding stress and start seeking it out. But we must be strategic. There is a critical difference between the two types of stress. Chronic, involuntary stress. This is the stress that breaks you. It's the 1-2-hour-a-day job you hate, the toxic relationship, the constant, low-grade traffic jam. This stress is uncontrollable. and it weakens you. Acute voluntary stress. This is the stress that builds you. It is a chosen challenge. It is intense. It is short-lived, and you are in control. This is stress inoculation. It's like a vaccine. You are injecting yourself with a small, controlled dose of the virus, stress, in order to teach your nervous system how to mount a powerful, effective defense. You are, in short, practicing for pressure. You are doing reps for the real event. How do we do this? 1. Physical inoculation. This is the most direct path. Cold exposure. In Chapter 6, we used the cold shower as an emergency reset. Now, we use it as daily training. A 2-minute cold shower every morning is not about waking up. It is a mental drill. Your amygdala will scream, "Danger, this is terrible, get out." And you will stand there, execute your calm box breathing, and teach your PFC to remain in control while the alarm is blaring. You are building the muscle, high-intensity exercise. When you do a 60-second sprint or a heavy set of squats, you are creating a massive, voluntary stress response. Your heart pounds, you can't breathe. It feels like a panic attack. But you are in control. You are training your mind to stay calm and focused inside the storm. This translates directly to handling an emotional storm. 2. Mental inoculation. This is where you seek out challenges you've been avoiding. Speak in public. Volunteer to give the presentation. Your amygdala will fire. You will feel the hijack. And you will practice your STOP method. You will practice your reframing. You will prove to your brain that you can survive. Have difficult conversations. Stop avoiding the minor conflict with your colleague or partner. Use your tools to have the conversation calmly. This is a rep. Learn a hard skill. Learn an instrument. Learn to code. Learn a new language. This forces your brain to be comfortable with feeling stupid and frustrated, and to persist anyway. This is the work. The person who takes a cold shower, has a hard conversation, and pushes themselves in the gym, all before 10 a.m., has already trained their nervous system for battle. When a real crisis hits them in the afternoon, it's just another rep. Their brain says, "Oh, this feeling, we've already done this 3 times today. We know how to handle this. PFC, stay online." Meanwhile, the person who has been seeking comfort all day is hit with the same crisis. Their brain has zero training. It's the first time it has felt this level of stress. It panics. It hijacks. It fails. The foundation of the 1%. This is the great unglamorous secret of the 1%. They are not better than you. They are not gifted with calm. They are simply better trained. They obsess over their sleep because they know it's the foundation. They are meticulous about their nutrition because they know it's their fuel. And they seek strategic stress because they know it's their training. This is your new operating system. This is the work you do between the crises. This is how you build an anti-fragile mind. This foundation gives you a high, stable baseline. But there is one more piece of the puzzle, one final, advanced mindset shift. It's the psychological reframe that we touched on in Chapter 5, but we must now make it a core philosophy. It's the shift that takes you from merely surviving pressure to actively thriving in it. It's the shift from an obsession with outcomes to an obsession with process. Chapter 8, the top 1% focus, process over outcome. In the last chapter, we built our foundation. We established the non-negotiable pillars of sleep, nutrition, and strategic stress. This foundation gives you a high, stable baseline, making you far more resilient than the person operating on caffeine, sugar, and chronic exhaustion. You now have the capacity to handle pressure. But capacity is not enough. You can have the most powerful, well-maintained race car in the world, but if you don't know how to drive it, you will still crash. This chapter is about how to drive. It is the single most important psychological shift that separates elite performers from the brilliant but brittle. It is the strategic shift from an obsession with outcomes to a relentless, microscopic focus on 1. The paralysis of outcome focus. Let's analyze the 99%, the smart, driven, and perpetually anxious. When a smart person faces a high-stakes situation, a presentation, a negotiation, a test, what is their entire mental energy focused on? The outcome. I must get this deal. I must get the A. They must think I'm brilliant. What if I fail? What if I lose? What if I look stupid? This is the intelligence trap in its purest form. Your analytical brain identifies the goal, the win, and then becomes obsessed with it. This obsession is the direct source of all your anxiety. It is the cause of the amygdala hijack. Why? 1. You are focusing on the uncontrollable. You cannot, at any level, control the outcome. You cannot control what the audience thinks. You cannot control what the market does. You cannot control if the other person says yes. By focusing 100% of your mental energy on something you cannot control, you are telling your amygdala, we are in a situation where we have no power. This is the very definition of danger. And the hijack begins. 2. You are living in the future. Anxiety, by definition, is fear of a future event. It cannot exist in the present moment. When your mind is in the outcome, what if I fail in 30 minutes? It has left the present. It is living in an imaginary, terrifying future. This is the fuel that anxiety burns. 3. You are tying the outcome to your identity. This is the killing blow for smart people. You don't just think, I hope the task succeeds. You think, if the task fails, I am a failure. You have wagered your entire sense of self-worth on an outcome that you do not control. The stakes are no longer winning a deal. The stakes are, am I a worthy human being? With stakes that high, it is biologically impossible not to panic. This is why you freeze. This is why you crumble. Your obsession with the outcome is a perfectly designed, self-imposed trap. It guarantees you will perform at your worst. Section 2. The liberation of process focus. Now, let's look at the 1%. The elite performer. The Navy SEAL, the concert pianist, the elite surgeon. In the middle of the exact same high-stakes situation, their mind is somewhere else entirely. They have, through brutal training, forced their focus away from the outcome and onto the process. What is the process? The process is the one single thing you can control in this immediate moment. It is the next 60 seconds. It is the next step. Let's see this in action. The 99% outcome focused. I have to give a 1-hour presentation. What if they hate it? What if I forget my lines? The 1% process focused. My only job is to deliver this sentence clearly. My next job is to click to the next slide. The 99% surgeon, outcome focused. This patient's life is in my hands. What if they don't survive? This is a huge responsibility. This is a recipe for a shaky hand. The 1% surgeon process, focused. My only job right now is to make this one precise incision. My next job is to place this one suture perfectly. The 99% negotiator, outcome focused. I have to get the 10% raise. I can't leave with less. What if they say no? The 1% negotiator, process focused. My only job is to ask my first question calmly and clearly. My next job is to listen to their answer without interrupting. This shift is the most liberating and powerful mental act you can perform. Why? 1. You are focusing 100% on what you can control. You can control your next sentence. You can control your next suture. You can control your next breath. By shifting your focus to the controllable process, you are sending a powerful signal to your amygdala. I am in complete control of this situation. The hijack signal stops. 2. You are anchored in the present moment. You cannot focus on your next step and what if I fail in 30 minutes at the same time. The human brain cannot do it. By forcing your attention onto the immediate process, you have robbed anxiety of its fuel. You have dragged your mind out of the imaginary future and locked it in the real, manageable present. 3. You have detached your identity from the outcome. Your new definition of success has changed. Success is no longer winning the deal, uncontrollable. Success is now executing my process perfectly, 100% controllable. You can lose the deal, but if you executed your process, listened well, stayed calm, asked good questions, you were successful. You can get a bad review, but if you executed your process, spoke clearly, stayed on message, you were successful. This is how elite performers build confidence. They don't need the win to feel successful, because their validation comes from their own flawless execution of the part they could control. This creates an unshakable foundation of self-trust. This is the ultimate reframe. Stop trying to control results. Start obsessing over your process. The good results will simply become a byproduct. Section 3. How to build your process. This is not a philosophy. This is a design project. You, the brilliant analyst, are going to stop analyzing the outcome and start analyzing the process. You are going to create if-then protocols for your life. You are going to build personal checklists for your most common high-pressure situations. Why a checklist? Because when the amygdala hijack begins and your rational brain goes offline, you do not want to have to think. You do not want to decide what to do. The decision must already be made. You just execute the drill. As a pilot, when the engine fails, you don't think, what are my options? You execute the checklist. It's automatic. It's trained. We are going to build the same for your emotional life. Here's how. Take your 3 most common hijack situations. Receiving negative feedback or criticism. Feeling overwhelmed by a big project. Entering a conflict with a loved one. Now, we build a 3-step process-focused checklist for each. This is your new win. Checklist 1. When I receive negative criticism. Outcome, focus, failure. Defend myself. Prove they are wrong. Don't look weak. New process focus, success. Stop. Take 1 full breath before I say a word. My new win is the pause. Thank them. Thank you for that feedback. My new win is controlling my ego. Ask a question. Can you tell me more about that? Or, what's an example of that? My new win is curiosity. This checklist is invincible. You have just taken one of the most threatening situations, a social attack, and turned it into a controllable 3-step process. Your ego is gone, only the process remains. Checklist 2. When I feel overwhelmed by a new, massive project. Outcome focus. Failure. This is impossible. I'll never finish. I don't know where to start. This leads to procrastination. New process focus. Success. Acknowledge. This is a large, complex project. Identify first step. What is the one single action I can take right now? For example, open a new document and write a title. Set timer. I will execute only this process for 15 minutes. Your win is not finishing the project. Your win is starting the 15-minute timer. You have just defeated procrastination. Checklist 3. When I am entering a conflict with a loved one. Outcome. Focus. Failure. I have to win this fight. I have to prove my point. They have to admit they are wrong. New process focus. Success. State my goal. My goal is not to win. My goal is to understand. Listen first. I will not speak until they have finished their thought. My win is silence. Use I statements. I will not say, you always do this. I will say, I feel. My win is non-accusation. This is the work. You are building your own flight manual. You are preloading your decisions. Your smart, analytical brain is brilliant at this, so use it. Use it to design these systems during times of calm. Analyze your failures, find the trigger, build the 3-step checklist. Then, when the pressure hits, you stop being a thinker. You become an executor. The 99% fail because they try to think under pressure. The 1% succeed because they execute a process they already thought about. This is the ultimate secret. Pressure is not a threat, it is a performance, and you just wrote the script. Your only job is to follow it. When you combine this process obsession with the foundational resilience we built in the last chapter, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing failure. You stop needing the win. You develop a deep, quiet, unshakable trust in yourself. Not trust that you will always succeed, but trust that you will always execute your process. This is the true source of confidence, and in the next chapter, we are going to build it. Chapter 9. The Confidence Myth. Building Real Self-Trust. Let's talk about confidence. For most of your life, you have been chasing a phantom. The 99% of the world misunderstands what confidence is, and this misunderstanding is the very thing that keeps them trapped in anxiety. What does confidence look like in your mind? You probably picture someone loud, arrogant, and charismatic. Someone who walks into a room and knows they are going to win. Someone who feels no fear, no doubt, and no uncertainty. This is a myth. That is not confidence. That is ego. That is a fragile, surface-level bravado built on a recent string of external wins. And it is fragile precisely because it depends on external validation. The confidence of the 99% is hollow. It is a house of cards that collapses at the first sign of real failure. The moment they lose the deal, the moment they get the criticism, that arrogance shatters, and the panic-stricken imposter underneath is revealed. You have been chasing this phantom. You have been waiting to feel this mythical certainty of success before you take action. And so, you wait forever. It is time to stop. It is time to learn what real confidence is. Section 1. The 1%. Definition: unshakable self-trust. True, unshakable confidence is not what you think it is. It is not the absence of fear, doubt, or anxiety. You will always feel those things when you are pushing your limits. It is not the belief that you will never fail or face challenges. It is not the certainty that you will succeed. True confidence is the unshakable, quiet, inner knowledge that you will be okay even if you fail. Let me say that again. Real confidence is not, I will win. Real confidence is, I can handle whatever happens. It is the deep, cellular level trust that you have the tools, the S, T, O, P method, the reframing, the somatic resets to manage any challenge, any setback, any uncertainty that life throws at you. The 99% build their confidence on external factors they cannot control. I am confident because people like me. What happens when they don't? I am confident because I am successful. What happens when you fail? I am confident because I'm the smartest person in the room. What happens? 1% build their confidence on internal factors they can control. It is a quiet, resolute self-reliance. It is not about never falling down. It is the absolute certainty that if you do fall, you know how to get back up. This kind of confidence cannot be shaken by a bad meeting. It cannot be destroyed by a critical comment. It cannot be taken from you by anyone, because it was not given to you by anyone. It was built, and it was built with evidence. Section 2. Confidence is built from evidence. This is the second critical mistake that smart people make. You think, I will take action when I feel confident. You sit and analyze. You plan. You ruminate. You wait for the feeling of confidence to arrive, as if it's a package being delivered. You are waiting for the prerequisite of courage before you do the courageous thing. This is completely backward. You do not wait for confidence. Confidence is the result. It is the after effect. You cannot think your way to confidence. You cannot affirm your way to confidence. You cannot fake your way to confidence. You can only build confidence through evidence. Confidence is your brain's updated assessment of its own capabilities. It is a reputation you build with yourself, and like any reputation, it is built on a track record. Here is the confidence-building loop. It is the reverse of what you think it is. You take action despite feeling afraid. You handle the situation. Maybe not perfectly, but you handle it. You survive. You learn. You extract the lesson. Your brain, the observer, makes a note. We were terrified, but we didn't die. We actually did okay. Your self-trust increases by 1%. Your confidence grows. The next time, the challenge is slightly bigger. The fear is still there, but your baseline of evidence is higher, and the cycle continues. This is why emotional mastery is the foundation of all confidence. Every time you get hijacked and you use the STOP method, you are building evidence. You are proving to yourself, I can handle a hijack. Every time you catch a negative thought and reframe it, you are building evidence. I can control my narrative. Every time you feel that surge of rage and you choose to go flush the system instead of yell, you are building evidence. I am stronger than my anger. The person who avoids pressure has no evidence of their own resilience. They assume they will crumble because they have never proven otherwise. The person who practices with strategic stress, chapter 7, and uses their tools, chapter 4 to 6, is daily gathering evidence. They are building an unshakable, internal portfolio of proof that they can handle hard things. This brings us to the most practical question. How do you start building this evidence today? Section 3. How to build the evidence, the integrity bank account. You do not start by giving the big presentation. You do not start by closing the $1 million deal. You start by building integrity alignment. Integrity alignment is the consistency between your values, your words, and your actions. When these three things are aligned, you develop an inner strength and a presence that is magnetic. When they are misaligned, you feel weak, fraudulent, and anxious. The simplest way to build this alignment is to start keeping the promises you make to yourself. This is the true source of self-trust. Think of your self-trust as a bank account. Every action you take is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Most people are in a massive self-trust deficit. You tell yourself, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. The alarm rings. You hit snooze. Withdrawal. You just provided evidence to your brain that your words mean nothing. You tell yourself, I'm going to eat healthy today. 3 p.m. comes. You eat the donut. Withdrawal. Evidence that you cannot be trusted. You tell yourself, I'm going to make that difficult call. You procrastinate and move it to tomorrow. Withdrawal. Evidence that you are run by fear. Most people's lives are a series of tiny, daily compromises and broken promises. They tell small lies to avoid discomfort. They make commitments they don't intend to keep. And then, they wonder why they have no confidence. They wonder why they don't trust themselves in a high-pressure situation. Of course you don't trust yourself. You have a mountain of evidence proving that you are not a person who does what they say they will do. This is where the work begins. You will stop making 100 vague, weak promises. You will make one. Your promise is, when my alarm rings at 6 a.m., I will put my feet on the floor. That's it. The alarm rings. You feel the pull of comfort. You feel the weakness. And you do it anyway. Deposit. Your promise is, I will take a 2-minute cold shower. You stand before the handle. You feel the dread. And you do it anyway. Deposit. Your promise is, I will not look at my phone for the first 10 minutes of the day. You feel the itch, the anxiety, the need for a dopamine hit, and you do it anyway. Deposit. This is the foundation. Confidence is not built in the boardroom. It is revealed in the boardroom. It is built in the dark, at 6 a.m., when you keep a promise to yourself that no one else will ever know about. Now, let's connect this to Chapter 8. What was our new operating system? Process over outcome. What was our new win? Executing the process perfectly. Every time you have a high-pressure moment and you choose to run your checklist instead of your emotion, you are keeping a promise to yourself. Situation. You receive a critical email. Old promise. I'll win this fight. You broke it and made a withdrawal. New promise. I will STOP and breathe. You feel the rage. You want to type, and you do it anyway. You stop. You breathe. Deposit. You have just built real confidence. You have just proven to yourself that you are a person who can stay in control. This is the loop. You build foundational trust by keeping small, daily, physical promises. Sleep, nutrition, exercise. This builds the capacity to handle stress. Then, you build active trust by executing your process checklists in the face of pressure. This creates a new identity. You are no longer a person trying to be confident. You are a person who keeps their promises. You are a person who executes their process. You are a person who can handle hard things. This is the source of unshakable confidence. It is not a feeling. It is an identity you have earned through evidence. Section 4. The confidence of competence. There is one final piece to this. Confidence without competence is just delusion. You cannot be a confident surgeon if you have not studied anatomy. You cannot be a confident pilot if you have not logged the flight hours. Part of your process, part of your evidence gathering, must be an obsession with getting better. You must build real skills. But here is what the 1% knows. You don't just build technical skills, like knowing how to code. You build meta skills. These are the skills that apply to every domain. The skill of learning, knowing how to learn, how to get smart on a new topic fast. This gives you confidence that even if you don't know the answer now, you can find it. The skill of problem solving, knowing you have a systematic way to break down complex challenges. The skill of communication, knowing how to express your ideas clearly and listen effectively. This is why intelligent people often lack confidence. They are hyper-specialized. They are confident in their one area, like finance or law. But the moment they step outside it, their amygdala fires. The 1% performer builds confidence in their ability to adapt. Their confidence is not, I know everything. Their confidence is, I can learn anything. This is the final reframe. Stop trying to be confident. Start being a person who builds evidence. Start by keeping the smallest promise to yourself tomorrow morning. Start by executing your STOP checklist one time. Start by focusing on your process, not the outcome. The confidence you've been chasing will stop being a goal. It will become a byproduct. It will become the quiet, unshakable foundation upon which you build the rest of your life. You now have the foundation, you have the tools, you have the operating system, and you have the true definition of confidence. It is time to apply this new self to the most high-stakes, chaotic, and important environments of all, your relationships and your role as a leader. Chapter 10. Pressure in Practice, Leadership and Relationships. We have come to the proving ground. All the work we have done, the STOP method, the cognitive reframing, the somatic resets, the foundational resilience, the process-driven mindset, and the evidence-based confidence, it was all practice. It was the sparring, it was the drills, it was the work done in the dark. This is the main event. Because the true measure of your mastery is not how you handle yourself when you are alone. It is how you handle yourself when you are with other people. Welcome to the two most emotionally volatile arenas of human existence, your role as a leader and your place in a relationship. In these arenas, the stakes are not just profit or loss. They are trust, respect, and connection. In these arenas, an emotional hijack is not just a personal failure. It is a profound betrayal of the people who depend on you. You can be a Zen master in meditation, but can you hold your center when your team is panicking? Can you stay grounded when your partner says the one thing they know will break you? This is where all your training is tested. Let's begin. Section 1. Emotional leadership. The weight of calm. Leadership is not a title. It is a function. The function of a leader is to absorb fear and create clarity. In any group, a family, a project team, a company, there is a constant flow of emotional energy. Most people are thermometers. They simply reflect the ambient emotional temperature. If the room is anxious, they become anxious. If the room is angry, they become angry. They are passengers, amplifying the chaos. The 1% leader is a thermostat. They do not reflect the temperature, they set it. When chaos erupts, the thermostat becomes the calm center. They don't just resist the panic, they metabolize it. They take in the group's anxiety, process it through their own trained resilience, and output calm, focused, deliberate action. Scenario: the crisis. A key client has just pulled their contract. It's a 30% revenue hit. The news rips through the office. You see the faces. You see the panic. People are whispering about layoffs. Your senior manager bursts into your office, his eyes wide. This is a catastrophe. We are finished. The 99% leader, the thermometer. You feel his panic. Your own amygdala fires. Your internal monologue. He's right. This is it. All my work. My reputation. It's over. You snap back. Don't just stand there. Get me the numbers. Why didn't we see this coming? Result: you have just confirmed the panic. You have signaled to your team that the correct response is fear. The hijack is now contagious. Everyone is now in save themselves mode. Productivity is zero. The 1% leader, the thermostat. You feel the exact same jolt of panic. Your heart drops. You want to yell, but you have trained for this. S-T-O-P. You put your hands flat on your desk. You anchor yourself. Take a breath. One full box breath. Observe. Fact: we lost a client. Interpretation: we are finished. Proceed. You execute your new process-driven script. Your internal monologue: this is a problem, not a catastrophe. My process is: 1. Acknowledge. 2. Analyze. 3. Act. You look at your manager. Your voice is low and steady. You say, "This is a serious hit. I acknowledge that." You validate his feeling. You don't dismiss it. But finished is an emotion, not a fact. I need you to be a problem solver right now, not a victim. Go get the real numbers. I want to know our exact cash on hand and our burn rate. I'll call the team together in 15 minutes. Analysis. This is the weight of calm. It is an incredible burden to feel the panic and choose not to participate. You did not lie. You did not say, "This is fine." You re-anchored the situation in reality. You created psychological safety, not by promising the outcome would be okay, but by demonstrating that the process would be handled. Your team's trust in you is not based on you always winning. It is based on you never losing your mind. Your calm is their permission to focus. It is the most valuable asset you possess. Section 2. The courage of non-reaction in relationships. If leadership is about absorbing the fear of many, relationships are about managing the concentrated, high-stakes triggers from one. This is the final boss. Your partner, your family, they installed your emotional triggers. They know your vulnerabilities. And in a conflict, they will, consciously or not, go straight for them. This is where 99% of people, even brilliant leaders, fail. They believe being authentic means, "I must show you my rage." They believe winning the fight is the goal. The 1% understands that in a relationship, if one person wins the fight, the relationship loses. The goal is not to win. The goal is to connect. Scenario: the personal attack, 6:18. You're in a heated argument about finances. You feel unheard. They feel attacked. The tension is high, and then they deploy the weapon. They say, "You know, you're becoming just as cold and controlling as your father." Boom! This is not a criticism. This is a character assassination. It hits your deepest insecurity. The hijack is total. The rage is blinding. The 99% response: escalation. Your only goal is to hurt them back. More. "My father? You're one to talk. You can't even hold down a job. You bring up their worst failure. You use the secret they told you in confidence. You go for the throat. Result: mutually assured destruction. You have both won, and you have just broken the foundation of your relationship. You have proven that you are not a safe harbor. That trust may never be fully repaired. The 1% response, the courage of non-reaction. You feel the hijack. The pain is white hot. You want to destroy them. This is the single most difficult moment of your training. S-T-O-P. You close your mouth. You taste the venomous reply, and you swallow it. This is not weakness. This is superhuman strength. Take a breath. It's shaky. You take another. Observe. Fact: they said words. Interpretation: they believe I am a monster. They have betrayed me. You reframe. Chapter 5. What is another interpretation? They are not attacking me. They are lashing out from their own pain. They feel hurt, and they are using the biggest weapon they have. Proceed. You execute your relationship process. My win is not to wound. My win is to de-escalate. You wait a full 5 seconds. The silence is deafening. You say, in a low, quiet voice, "That was a terrible thing to say, and it really, really hurt." You pause. "I'm not going to continue this fight while we are trying to destroy each other. I'm going to get some water. We can talk in 10 minutes when we can actually solve the problem." Analysis. What did you just do? You refused to participate in the escalation. You did not absorb the attack or reflect it. You deflected it. You showed the wound. That hurt. This is not a counterattack. It is a vulnerable fact. It forces them to see the effect of their weapon, which often breaks their hijack. You set a boundary. "I'm not going to continue this." You took control of the situation, not the person. You offered a path forward, when we can actually solve the problem. You reminded both of you of the real goal. This is the art of strategic non-reaction. It requires the supreme confidence, Chapter 9, of not needing to prove you are right. Your confidence comes from executing your process, the process of de-escalation. You cannot control what other people say to you. You cannot stop them from trying to hurt you. You can only control whether you join them in the mud. As a leader, your calm creates focus. In a relationship, your calm creates safety. Both are built on the same tools. Both are forged in the same fire. And both are the prize. All the work we have done, all the theory and tactics, comes down to these two battlegrounds. You now have the complete map. You have the tools. You have the training. The work is not over. The work has just begun. Conclusion. The compound effect of calm. We have reached the end of this journey, but we are at the beginning of your new life. Let's go back, for one last time, to the person you were when you started this audiobook. You were brilliant, you were driven, and you were a slave. You were a slave to a 12 millisecond biological reaction. A slave to an ancient, primitive piece of hardware called the amygdala. You were trapped in the intelligence trap, using your powerful mind to build sophisticated cages of anxiety, justification, and fear. You believed your feelings were facts. You believed your reactions were you. You know, now, that this is false. Your emotions are not your friend. They are not your enemy. They are simply data. They are a biological alarm system, designed for a world that no longer exists. You no longer have to live at the mercy of that alarm. You now have the emergency brake, the STOP method. You have the new software, cognitive reframing. You have the hardware reset, somatic regulation. You have the unbreakable foundation, the pillars of resilience. You have the elite operating system, process over outcome. And you have the true source of power, evidence-based self-trust. You have the complete toolkit. You are no longer untrained. You are now among the most well-equipped people on the planet. But what is this all for? What is the real, long-term prize? The immediate benefits are obvious. You will win more negotiations. You will lead with more stability. You will have fewer destructive fights. These immediate wins are significant, but they are nothing compared to the real reward. The real reward is the compound effect of calm. Emotional mastery works just like compound interest. The first few deposits are small, they feel insignificant. The first time you STOP instead of yell. The first time you choose the cold shower. The first time you keep a promise to yourself at 6 a.m. It's a tiny deposit. But these deposits, these small, daily choices to respond rather than react, begin to compound. They build on each other, gathering a momentum that will, over time, become an unstoppable force in your life. First is the compound effect on your health. Every time you used to have a hijack, your body was flooded with poison, a cascade of cortisol. This chronic stress was literally accelerating your aging, weakening your immune system, and damaging your brain. Every time you now choose to STOP and breathe, every time you choose to flush your system with movement, you are sparing your body that poison. The 10-year compound effect is not just less stress. It is better sleep, clearer thinking, a stronger immune system, and literally a longer, healthier life. Second is the compound effect on your wealth. Think of all the energy you have wasted, the hours, the days, the weeks spent ruminating, worrying, managing emotional drama, and cleaning up the messes from your own reactions. That energy is now liberated. That energy is now free to be invested in deep work, in learning new skills, in building your business, in focusing on what truly matters. You are reclaiming thousands of hours of your life. The 10-year compound effect is not a few more productive days. It is the career you never thought possible. It is the wealth that comes from consistent, focused, calm action. Third is the compound effect on your relationships. Every time you used to react, you made a small withdrawal from the bank account of trust. Every time you now choose to absorb the anger and create safety, every time you choose to be the thermostat, you make a deposit. The 10-year compound effect is not fewer fights. It is a life built on a foundation of deep, profound trust. It is becoming the person your friends, your family, and your children turn to in a crisis, knowing you will be the anchor. It is the peace that comes from being a safe harbor in a chaotic world. Finally, and most importantly, is the compound effect on you. Every time you choose your process over your panic, you are gathering evidence. You are keeping a promise to yourself. You are literally rewiring your brain. The person who struggled to be calm becomes the person who is naturally calm. The hard choice becomes your new autopilot. The 10-year compound effect is the creation of an entirely new identity. You develop an inner stability that is not dependent on external circumstances. The market can crash, people can criticize you, life can challenge you, and you will stand firm. Not because you are emotionless, but because you are in control. You will, in the end, become anti-fragile. You will stop seeing pressure as something to be avoided. You will see it as an opportunity to practice, to grow, to gather more evidence. The very things that used to break you will now become the things that make you. This is the choice. You can finish this audiobook, nod, and say, That was interesting. And you can go back to being a slave, back to the cycles of regret and limitation, back to letting a 12-millisecond reaction dictate the course of your one precious life. Or you can make a different choice. You can choose one thing from this book, just one. You can choose to S-T-O-P one time tomorrow. You can choose to keep one promise to yourself at 6 a.m. You can choose to do the patient, consistent, unglamorous work. The time to start is not tomorrow. The time to start is not when you feel ready. The time to start is now. Because every day you delay is another day of compound interest lost. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are the architect. You are the builder. You are the one who chooses. You are smart. Now, go be unbreakable.